Hi, welcome to Exquisite You. I'm RJ Drumil and this initiative is by Aries. Right now, I'm going to be in conversation with Dr. Hema Divakar. She is the owner of Divakar Specialty Hospital. It is a center of excellence of women healthcare. She's also been a past president of Foxy, and with that, she's currently chairing an international group which is called Well Women Healthcare. Hello, Hema ma'am, and welcome to Exquisite You.
Thank you, Drumil.
How are you?
As always, doing good.
How amazing. Ma'am, when I got to know about you, I realized that concepts like gender inequality, feminism are something you never knew as a child.
That is so true because you reflect what is in your mind. And
Right.
if you have never experienced that and other people tell you, you can't even relate to it. Okay, so being born in the family of three, I being the eldest, my brother next and my younger sister the last, I took nearly 3 decades of my life to know that there is something like a gender divide or gender difference. And when, even especially in the recent past after the digital media, you get to see so many stories of so many people, the real stories of how the parents themselves, discriminated between the genders, and even in the urban areas, we always think that maybe, and then being a gynecologist and the Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, I said, what is this? That's what I thought when I first heard the slogan, and then the reality struck on the face that yes, this is the ground reality in many parts of our great country. And it was more theoretical, and I recognized, though it's theoretical for me, it's real for many girls and women out there.
Absolutely. So how was your childhood like? How were you raised? What were the values that were given to you?
Basically, coming from a typical middle class Brahmin family, we were all into education. Okay. And the honesty, integrity, and always to speak the truth and to get on with the best that you can do ever. So they always used to say, my parents used to say that nobody may ask you how well you have done, but you have to be sure that you have done as good as you could have,
Wow.
So there is no need to justify or please others as to somebody is looking at something that you do, and so to get up to the mark you have to be, within yourself satisfied that, you've given it your best shot. So that was what we it was very intensely instilled. And sometimes, when we talk about ethics in medical practice,
Right.
we say, oh my God, like these things also happen. So it is a wow factor in a very different way. As we grew up, oh, this also happens. And at every phase there is a discovery which is quite paradoxical, quite contradictory to what you have learned and what you have grown up with.
True.
And sometimes we really become the odd ones because, over the years, of course, we have learned when to keep quiet and when to tell the truth in a polished manner so that it doesn't really hurt. But, like Jack in the Box getting up and saying, oh, that's not true, so that's how. But I think all of these, are the foundations laid right from your childhood, because we never knew the other side of the world. So that is a benign situation to be in, that's an innocent situation to be in, but it's a good thing in life that you grow up like that, and then you learn to battle with almost anything and everything, because you are damn sure that you will not compromise on any of these
Absolutely.
values. It's so strong within yourself. And also the parents as role models, I think that also hugely helps to make an impression on your minds as you grow. So I think that's the greatest value that I would place on my parents, yes.
How amazing. How did medicine come to your life? Did you have somebody within your family?
Plenty, right from my grandfather. Many doctors in the family. But
Okay.
40 years ago, if you would know the typical scenario of educated girls, they would always be pushed into the medical stream if they had the merit to get into a medical college. And typically, as in Three Idiots, if you have seen the movie, the boys into the engineering and the girls into medicine. So that was the era then. And also there was not so much exposure on a global level to very many newer and fancier options. So we presume that okay, by merit if we get, we are going to anyhow go by what's going, generally. So that is how. But looking at the background, always the service mentality of having a spontaneous opportunity to help people through the stream of medicine, that was always there in the mind. And it was not a difficult entry into a medical college because it was on merit and in the city of Mumbai, and I think we loved every bit of it.
So ma'am, say for an example, if given a choice, if not medicine, that was the only thing that you saw, that girls would go for medicine, boys for engineering mostly, what would you be?
Two extremes. I would have thought, okay, if I can easily get into medicine, I'll go. Otherwise, it's not a big deal. Whatever I get into, I will. And another typical stream in those days was home science.
Oh, yes.
It's like totally a contrasting thing. But, I was okay with everything, because if you set your expectations high, parallelly the disappointments will also be high. So, say, okay, if not this, that, you can do well in anything that you would do. Even to my son, I said, don't be hooked on to this or that. Even if you become a hairdresser, you have to be excellent in your profession. We are fine with that. That's the kind of attitude that I have. So whatever we do, do it well. So that was.
But do you think that kids of doctors, especially whose both the parents are doctors, have this pressure to take the same field?
They may not necessarily have the pressure with every set of parents, because the parents also may have different ideas.
So how was your setup with the child?
No, I think my son was more impressed with the glamour that he thought the profession would bring in, because going in the white coats and everybody respecting, and like we are being treated like gods in a typical scenario. And I think all that was what he thought was one of the best things to take medicines and be like my parents. And that's why he never saw the flip side of it, about how passionately and how hard we work, and how we don't have our the work-life balance is a new terminology which has now come in the last decade or so.
Right.
But before that, there was no such cliched term, and everybody thought that if you're dedicated to your work, and that's it.
That's the only
way. So that's what. So I used to cut the paper clippings of the education and the what next section of the Times of India, a whole suitcase full of so many options. There are so many options. So finally he took into being a legal expert, the lawyer. So he said, you are with the white coat, I'll be with the black. But finally now he's turned the table around again. He wanted to be in the hospital setup, so he did his doctorate in hospital administration, and he's back with us as one of the directors of the Divakar Specialty Hospital in Bangalore. And he's happy with what he's doing, because I think, in his own heart, he also wanted, though not to become a doctor, and there was anyway no pressure from us, but to be in a similar setting. Right. As the service industry, the hospitals, being with people, the philanthropy, the helping. So that mindset was always there. Right. So with that, the contrasting thing as a legal professional, if you have to stand up to your client, then you may have to say just the opposite things which have not happened for real. And that, I think, was a major clash in his mind, because as I told you, the honesty, integrity values have come down the generations, and it was very kind of a conflicting profession. And we said, yeah, no harm if you, by your choice, if you're getting back into the hospital line, even though I said, because the managing a hospital, managing people, managing finances is a different cup of tea. Right. When we started, it was like a mama and papa shops, we call typically, small maternity homes where a gynecologist has to double up as everything. Everything she has to, the hospital owner has to manage. Even now, the same thing happens. But the bigger the setup, then you need professionals in different verticals. So I would think that it all happened for good, and he's an asset in any case.
Wow, which is so amazing. Another personal thing that I got to know about you is, at the young age of 62, You decided to learn how to cook, which I think is pressurized upon so many women, saying that this is your duty, this is what you should know. I'd rather say it's not a gender's duty, but it's a survival skill.
True, I
Right?
agree with you.
I take it that
I
way.
agree with you. And every year as I grew up in my life, I said, oh, I have escaped out of this. That was the feeling. Because during the childhood, as I said, the whole family was focusing on education. And then in one of our preventive social medicine exams, I could not identify the dals and pulses which they had kept on the table. And then, I was almost going to fail when they said, haven't you ever entered the kitchen? I said, no, I have not. So I don't know the difference between that, whatever the pulses that they had kept on the table. And so that was how it was. Then everybody said, oh, now you get married and then you'll be in for trouble because everybody would expect you to do this, that and the other. But I think again I was lucky twice over because because we all were in a joint family, and then I was the busiest person as a practicing gynecologist, and everybody in the family was so proud of the things that I was doing day and night. They said, oh wow, she's this, she's that. So that got projected big time with all the friends and relatives coming to our setup for their medical problems and deliveries, and they thought there is somebody so close to us in this role, and they appreciated it rather than, oh, she has no time for cooking and all these sort of things. And then the support by the in-laws and everybody having the same tone that they're not expecting me to do anything at home because they're thinking that I'm doing a great job outside of home. And so they it was never a phase where I had to either struggle or look back or feel guilty or regret that I'm not doing the typical things that were, they were not even expected of me. But then as the age advanced, then the affordability came into the picture, then the cooks were appointed, and whatever has to be done, that was being more than well taken care of. So it's not that I had to do it, but it was. And whether it was my in-law or my cook, they still today feel like the queen of the kitchen, because they know that this madam doesn't know anything, so she will not interfere with our work. So it is our kingdom. so they are very happy to work for me. So that I have encashed.
There is no interference. There is no ye karo, wo karo, ye kyun zyada karo.
I have told my cook, the moment you ask me what to cook today, you'll be out of your job. So that is how so they all have got adjusted to that mindset. And then it was only in the COVID times that was the first time we were compelled to take a break. So being so passionate about doing things on the digital platform, we still did many digital courses, the trainings, prepared the COVID warriors right across the state of Karnataka and then pan India, and the skill transfer initiatives that we did. So we were super busy, and lot of Zoom group meetings with the people themselves, and working for the government as well, and awareness programs. And so there were enough things to do. But then there was more time than usual, because at 60 plus they said, no, you should not be going back and risking till the vaccines came. So we had time on hand, and so that was perhaps one of the rare times I watched some television serials, and I saw the hero opening up the YouTube and trying to learn how to cook when his wife was away. And that I said, oh, all these things are also on the YouTube, because I was never, I didn't know there were so many cookery channels and millions of viewers for that. I said, oh my God, these ladies are doing like pretty well, and it's very novel, because they look quite simple, but they would turn out fantastic cuisine. So I said, let me see, and I kind of clicked for the search for how to cook rice in a pressure cooker. So that was the first time at the age of 62, that, and then how to make tea, and then they're giving such fantastic instructions and very specific steps, and nothing went wrong. So I was thinking, oh, I'm doing it for the first time, but I've done it so well. So, and then, till then there was a, mind block, the mindset that cooking is not my cup of tea. It's very, I don't know how these women do it, but I thought it was really very difficult. But then once you get onto it, then okay, everything is difficult before it becomes easy.
True.
That's true for many things. But if you're not interested, then it will look difficult and more difficult and more difficult. So there was a short phase when I ventured into the cooking. I said, yeah, if I'm forced to do it, or if the situation arises that I have to do it, yeah, I can cook rice, I can make a cup of tea now. Okay, because when, for some meetings, when some people used to come home, the intense discussions with me, and then they say, oh, where is Dr. Divakar? Where's I said, you have come to talk to me. Now, why do you want Dr. Divakar? No, ma'am, we want a cup of tea. That's why we are looking for Dr. Divakar. Because when he comes, he'll make at least a cup of tea for us. So that. And then some men actually refuse to drink the tea. No, we are feeling bad that he's making tea and giving, but he has no issues with that. But they had issues with drinking the tea.
That's
So
what
these,
it's in our
yeah,
mind.
so that's that's the mindset, and they're saying, oh, she's very lucky that people do. But I don't think that between the two of us, Divakar and myself, we have not seen this also as a great ego clash. Whoever has the time can do whatever they like. So because we have kept our own spaces for ourselves, it's been 4 decades of living together peacefully because there is a lot of space to think, falter, make wrong decisions, not blame each other for those decisions, pick ourselves up and say, okay, let's, this is not working, let's say. So the blame game has never been, in the picture, thanks to my better half, as I would say. And I had been watching this for the first few years in marriage, and I recognized that this is not the sort of a person who points fingers and blames. Whatever he can do to support, he will. Otherwise, he will not interfere with what I'm doing, because I've done so many crazy things which, some of which have, of course, failed, but he's never said, see, I told you not to do this. That's never been a sentence ever. So
Wow.
that's, that I think is again, reflecting in a mature way. I think that's also been a great lot of support, because if you are made to feel you're wrong, and then you're made to feel guilty, oh, you shouldn't have done it, oh, I told you so, that's what kills the energy of so many people. Because you know that yes, you tried, but whenever you try, there is a good chance you may succeed, but there's also equal amount of chance that you may fail.
Absolutely.
But at least you've tried. To win, you must begin. That's the mantra.
It's actually a very good mantra.
Yeah.
To win, you must begin. Ma'am, whatever you said, in an ideal situation, it should be normal. But because we see so much of discrimination around us every day, we celebrate this thing.
Yeah.
Saying that, we are equals. But being equal is normal as being humane. But unfortunately, as I mentioned, there is so much of discrimination. And currently you are chairing Well Women Healthcare, which it's an international group.
Yeah.
And it basically looks at women beyond what is seen.
That's true.
So please tell us, how is this cause close to you and what are you doing
Because,
with this?
as typical doctors and in a busy practice, we would just think that ensuring her wellness only means she has come to you with a problem, quick fix it, and you think that she is well. It's only very technical.
Right.
Okay, she has come with a tumor, you remove the tumor. She's come with some cancer, you detect it early and you treat her. She's come with fertility issues, okay, you give her a child. But that's not all. As we grow in years of practice, and also on the organization level, we are involved with many, many other stakeholders coming from different backgrounds, different groups, telling us real stories of what it is. Then you slowly start paying attention, you see, for what does not meet the eye.
Right.
There may be so many things that she's not telling us, but those are silent but bigger problems. So in a very soft way, even within few seconds, you can see the tears behind her eyes to why she's, struggling or suffering in her mind. So to ensure the well-being of the mind is also equally important. And as a doctor, you should be her go-to person. Then that is really your strength, because, for very many social issues or educational issues or financial issues or dilemmas in decision making, and she doesn't have any support from anywhere, and if you are the one who can guide her to the best possible extent, because there is a rapport, she trusts you, and she knows that, there is somebody for me. Even you don't do anything, but you give her that feeling, I think then we've done our job well. So that's what I've recognized over a period of time, that, even for very, very proud. And then there used to be a phase where, the family would look for whether there's a birth of a male child, and then, so much celebration, and if it's a female. Now, when my patients start telling that we want to have a daughter and she should be like you. You know,
Wow.
so then I said, yes,
This is all
crack
worth it.
It's worth it. It's
How
absolutely
amazing.
worth it. And then, even the anesthesiologists say, ma'am, in your setup, it's a little different. And, the women have a very positive mindset, and they are very happy and proud and accepting of the outcome beyond the genders. And I think, these are the things that we need not do, but if it comes along the course, that's a very worthwhile thing to do. So it's like each one teach one. So then there's a ripple effect of this phenomenon.
Right.
It's just not the law or just not pushing everybody to accept a change, but if educated girls, women, everybody changes within themselves, I think it's in itself a big movement to change the mindset of the entire society. Women's health is nation's wealth is not a cliched sentence, but
True,
it is actually so true. If she's happy, you can be assured that,
The country
the
is
entire
progressing.
family, the community, and because any frustrated mind, any dissatisfied mind is the one which harbors a lot of hostile environment, the ill feeling, and that is also a basis of the stress and lifestyle diseases and reluctantly doing things that you're expected to do. That's not the way anybody should live their lives. You're right. We must help each other to explore and, enrich our lives to the best possible extent.
Absolutely. But ma'am, your positive attitude, you believe where there is a will, there is a way. If there are problems, you turn them into opportunities. But I'm sure there would be times when you would also fall apart.
And why not? How can I be an
That's-
exception? How
that's-
can I be an
that's
exception?
so human as well. So, how do you put up those pieces together?
I'm a die-hard optimist because there's no use being anything else. Okay, at least you have a situation. You at least believe that, something good is going to happen. And if it doesn't happen, what is the lesson that you learn from there? Can you change the course of whatever you were doing? Or is it not even worthwhile? Your perceptions were different. You started on a wrong issue. Better drop that issue and then get on with something else. To that extent, if you're flexible, because you've invested so much time and energy in something that you foolishly believed, but it's not working because your perceptions were not what was actually needed, then you have to be bold enough to change the course. If you have the
Wow.
guts to fail, get up. And I attended one long time back one workshop where they said everybody is upset, but each one of you write down what is the time between upset and setting yourself up. Upset setup time, if you can normalize this to fractions of seconds within your own life in every situation. Okay, you have some issue, you're upset over it for years together. That's a very long upset setup time. Finally, you come to terms with it and but you have lost the time which you cannot move the
Absolutely.
needle back.
Absolutely.
You're upset today, but within few minutes, you gather yourself up and say, okay, let me get on. Then, you lose very little time and basically you lose very little energy. And you have to accept that everything will not work. For 50 failures, there may be 2 successes. It can be as bad as that. But
So true.
the life is all about learning. And these are the ways, with the pluses and minuses, you learn and you move along. That's the richness, because that's the only thing you take with you.
Absolutely. Ma'am, there's a lot of awareness nowadays in the country when the girl enters her menstruation or even the fertility period of her life. But when it is about to end, when the menopause begins, there's a lot of discrimination that women go through. There's a lot of lack of knowledge. And there's a lot of lack of understanding as well.
Absolutely. Typically when we ask for the hospital creatives, 99% of the creative artists will give me a tagline with a picture of a pregnant woman.
Right.
Because everybody's mindset is womanhood means pregnancy. Okay, there is nothing before and nothing beyond. That is the usual mindset. Okay, because pre-pregnancy also, she's just like, there may be issues with education and career, etc., but that is, it's a turmoil in itself. And once her reproductive phase is over, she's done her job of producing the X number of children. Then I said, you are not only the baby producing machine, you have a life beyond that. And now the longevity, as we call, has increased in India. There are millions of women at 40 plus in their menopause, and they have to live a good 25 to 35 years of their life. And the way that is to be tackled, there is not even a government policy to tackle this, because with the great lot of difficulty, we brought the adolescent policy,
Right.
into the picture. But the basic thing what the government was looking at was reproduction, family planning, containing the population, safe deliveries, saving mothers' lives, saving infants' life. That was the main. Then we said, no, this adolescents or the generation next has to be nurtured. So that policy came in. But as on today, after their reproductive career is over, there is no institutionalized mechanism to take care of them for the future life. If there's no policy existence, there's no structured intervention, and they're just lost as if they were nothing. And also the priorities given to the men for issues of chronic diseases, what we call high blood pressure, high blood sugar, etc. Even those, many women are floating in our population who are undiagnosed with all, because they've never,
Right.
after that they've never ever gone to a setup, because they may have silent diseases which have no symptoms, but unless a well women healthcare check is done on an annual basis, you will never be able to discover any of these and put it in. So that is non-existent. That is the physical part of it.
Right.
But the mentally, there is always a vacuum with the children leaving home, or the husband, say, thinking she's non-existent anymore, or and a lot of hormone changes with the mood swings, irritability, negative feeling, crying spells. All these are a complex part of the menopause which nobody in the family understands, and nobody is there to even talk to her about these things, and she keeps the problems within her own mind, and that is again the seat of lot of mental disturbances that she could have. And as she continues, then this is the phase where she could have cancers, and early detection would always help. And she may be in the workplace, but these hormones cause a havoc, and she is known to be the most nasty women in the workplace, and they misunderstand her. And there are so many situations where she cannot climb up the career ladder, or they think that okay, now she cannot contribute as much as she was about 10 years ago. So they feel that the decline has begun, and automatically the respect that she gets, the dignity with which she has to live, even including in the economic terms, it just fizzles out and phases out, which
It
is
seems
really,
like
really
a
wrong.
systematic breakdown.
It is, and how the women cope up with it, because they have no choice. So we have to proactively pay attention to this, and now that the digital platforms are there, in an anonymous way they can discuss with the healthcare providers, but the healthcare providers also need to be sensitive to what she must be going through and how to support, because she still has good 30 years of her life to contribute, and for all that she has done in the earlier phase of her life, I don't think this is what she
This is
deserves.
what she deserves.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, can't be taken for granted forever and forever. So we have to, proactively tell people about this, because what is menopause also many women may not know. They just live on, So there are, a lot of things on our unfinished agenda, if I may say. So we have a lot of challenges, but plenty of opportunities to do a lot more. So we are quite enthused that we have work to do, we have job to do. So,
How
so we are
amazing.
needed.
How amazing. I think it is such a strong note to end our podcast with. And I think a decade down the lane, I want to sit again with you and have a discussion on this and see what have we changed as a society to make our women feel equal, feel safe, feel
Absolutely.
home within their own homes.
Yeah, so that impact, social impact as we call it, will come very, very slowly. It may not be so tangible in our own lifetimes, but what we have done today will yield something tomorrow, because you reap as you sow. So at least we have begun talking about it, and I'm so grateful to this exquisite interview. Well, thank you so much, because we never have an opportunity to open up and talk on these issues, but today you've given us that outlet to say what are we concerned about and what can we do about it, how can we help them get to prioritizing their own lives and their own health and their own wellness, I think it will be a game changer and definitely a different world to live in. And we want the ecosystem to change into a happy and healthy aging right across their lifespan.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, ma'am, for being here with us. Pleasure having you, and even a bigger pleasure to meet you and know you.
Thank you so much. Sentiments are equally reciprocated from my end also. Namaskar. Thank you.
Thank you.